Yo, what's up? Welcome to another great episode of Rugby Swag. Yo, we got a great show for you today, and I'm telling you, we got some stuff. We missed a week to be able to gain a bunch, man, and we're not even going to be able to get through everything. Yo, first off, women's Elite Rugby is expanding, and it hasn't even started yet. Amazing stuff, man. Sports Illustrated has now gotten their eye on rugby. Ilona Maher is truly stamping herself as a superstar of rugby, aka the Caitlin Clark of rugby. And also, Rees-Zammit, what's been going on with him? Cuts have now been made in the NFL. Where did he land? And finally, we got rugby engagements and more. Y'all, this is one that you're not going to want to miss. Just stay put, but let's get to that intro, baby. Let's get to that intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Welcome to Rugby Swag. My name is Gift Time Baylor. Of course, this is a show where we get to speak to people about the opportunities they have found, created, or taken advantage of via rugby, but keep you up to date with all the news that's going on in rugby today. And y'all, we got some great news that's been happening. The development of rugby, I feel, is hitting another twist. I feel like there's constantly something happening, both from a field level and a pop culture level, but we're going to stick to more of the pop culture level because, hey, what happens off the field impacts the field even more so. I hope you guys have been having a great day. I hope you've had a great week so far. Got a great weekend of rugby that's coming up, man. Rugby championships, WXV kicking off. This is a 15s Haven starting off a new season. I gotta love it. You gotta love it all the way through. But even more importantly, you guys are getting the opportunity to be able to come in and comment on this. And before we even get it all started, man, I need to ask you guys, please, if you guys can, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment right here on the channel. We got some great engagement, great participation from our community. Obviously, when it comes to rugby and the rugby news that's going on, everybody wants to be involved, and I think it is incredibly wise to make sure that everybody gets involved best they can. And you being able to subscribe and comment on this absolutely helps the process that much more. But of course, that's not the only way you can get a chance to listen in on us. Absolutely go check us out on our audio platforms. If you can't watch it, absolutely take the podcast in. You can catch it primarily on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and basically any major podcast streaming platform that you can think of. We are there. We are trying to be everywhere you are. I feel like there was something, I forgot who that was. I think that might have been Motel 6. I don't remember who it was, but we're stealing it, all right? But on top of that, look, if you want to be able to connect with us, obviously, whenever we're not on the air, hit us up on social media. You can find us at Rugby Swag Show on Instagram, on X at Gift a Bailu. That's GIFTEGBELU. And you can connect and comment and be able to have it. I'm always sharing stuff between X and Threads as well, but you can find us on all other social media channels at Gift Time Rugby. That's Gift Time with 2 T's Rugby. That's Facebook. You can find us on TikTok, on Threads, on Twitch. Absolutely be able to follow and check us out and be able to be, part of the conversation in some way, shape, or form, because the conversation is what makes this all the more interesting whenever we get a chance to talk about it. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great one. Man, I don't want to talk too much about what's going on even around. Is just take it as it is. It's busy. Olympic runoff is still going through. I mean, I can feel the excitement. I don't know if you guys can, but I'm feeling the excitement from inside rugby people that feels like they really want to promote, especially from the women's side. They're really taking advantage of it. And the air of change, like the whole rugby being in the Olympics, feels like it's showing its proof as to why it really was significant, and why 2016 in that 2009 announcement, 2016 revelation, and being able to do this 2 more times is it. Because if you guys saw breakdancing, if we had sucked, it could have been gone in 1 year. So to see this 3rd year going on a 4th year straight, man, I can't get mad at that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Let's get to these commercials. Take care of those who take care of us. As Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag. Be right back. I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread make. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. So WER, Women's Elite Rugby, has been slowly developing over the last year as they get ready for their opening of the 2025 season. What is WER, the Women's Elite Rugby? It is the newest professional rugby league, rugby competition coming to the United States. And as of right now, they are making their announcements and their moves for what it's going to look like. Now, a lot of people will go, oh, we have Women's Premier League, which is the club rugby positioning of women's rugby, which placated as the highest level of competition for women until today, outside of Premier Sevens, which is sevens, but the highest league for 15s until 2025, when Women's Elite Rugby kicks in. And they made an announcement a couple weeks ago about the first few teams that they were going to be bringing on. And that was Boston, Chicago, and Denver. 3 major locations. I think very, very heavy, already sports towns. Denver, very close to Glendale, obviously a heavy sports town. Chicago, for very obvious reasons, very deep. And then Boston has a very strong sports culture. So it made sense to be able to bring them on into these spaces right now. But that wasn't it. Next, they made the secondary announcement that New York, the Twin City, that's St. Paul and Minneapolis, and Bay Area, San Francisco, will be making the team, making it 6 teams that are announced already for the Women's Elite Rugby competition. Like, this is a big deal because the way that they're doing it, they've took a little bit from what they saw from MLR and have really focused on trying to build up investment. They have a very strong board led by one of our friends of the show, Catherine Aversano, who is the vice president for WER themselves. So a lot of motion having gone into that. And, having talked to a few people in the background, they look like they're trying to be very meticulous and make sure that they can create something that has sustainability, but has time to be able to grow as it goes. So they've been really making an effort. On top of that, they've been trying to show that they're still going to interconnect in with WPL. And they created a competition called the Legacy Cup, which is basically now the national championship for the WPL, which is also going on this weekend as well. So you're already starting to see their fingers kind of entrance their way into the makings of the USA rugby community. And I think their hopes is also that they can take away some of the competition from the women's premiership rugby that's happening, or maybe at least alleviate some of the strain on it so that some of the American players can just stay at home. There's players like Alev Kelter, who has been playing over I think for Bristol for all this time. But occasionally is able to get off for sevens, but is one of the reasons why she's not been a mainstay for USA sevens when it comes to the HSBC sevens competition, because she's got work. She at work. So I think it's one that's really good. I'm hoping the best for them. Again, all of this is about being able to set up a competition that is sustainable and that understands how to utilize the environment and really be able to utilize rugby the way that it needs to be done. I'm trying to make sure I'm equating the correct team to her on the professional side. To a left Kelter, but either or, not important. But this conference, this organization is continuing to try, and it even brings in to the next big stage for them is who they brought in for their director of rugby. This is the person who's going to be legitimately running the operations on the field. All right, they lead in the team setup, lead in basically as commissioner for this rugby league, and they announced it as Jamie Burke. Now, if you guys don't know who Jamie Burke is a big deal. All right, I need this to be placed out first and foremost. Jamie Burke is a big mother effing deal. All right, she is a former USA rugby player, alignment, a prop, a front rower. She has been the head coach for the Glendale Raptors. She has been winning as coach. She's been she's a Virginia Rugby Union Hall of Famer. She is she is a legend of the game for a long time, has been big time within the coaching, part of the decades team, etc. like that. And her expertise, which has made the Raptors one of the most formidable teams in club rugby and in the WPL, a constant championship contender. Bringing her into as director of rugby, I think is really good to be able to help shape the future and to look for what that rugby should look like. You got to give it credit where credit is due. Like they got a really strong setup going on in each of these elements there. So I think this is going to be really good competition. What they're doing with the teams, again, it's a lot of small setup. They got individual teams, individual ownership, but invested within a main pool. So shout out to Women's Elite Rugby, and getting things moving along, because that's going to be really important, as we say, when it comes to the progression with the women's sports, women's professional sports. It's huge. It's huge. And right now, luckily, you're running into the golden age of women's professional sports. So good for them. Good deal on that. All right, we're going to be right back. Hey, man, Ilona Maher does not stop, man. It is a month out. She has not stopped. We're going to talk a little bit about this. This is Gifte Belu. We'll be right back.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is Gifte Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes. You can use it for waffles. You can use it for making loaves of bread. You can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen-free. It is nut-free. It is dairy-free. That there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
Welcome back. Y'all, man, Ilona Maher has continued to show why she is the up-and-coming global star. The last time we talked, I said this. I said Ilona Maher, I think, is the first global rugby superstar especially out of the U.S. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, what about Jonah Lomu? You know, we obviously, people like Portia Woodman, or you have Sia Kolisi. These are global stars. And I will say they're not. They are major rugby stars, which is very different. Inside the rugby community, absolutely is amongst the most popular people that are there. But within a pop culture element, I said Ilona Maher has far surpassed that moment. And she's continued to show that she is, because this week, after doing Seth Meyers and doing all these commercials and podcasts, she was announced as the Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model. Now, mind you, I don't know for the younger generation, was a big deal. Like back in the day, whenever it was just a physical page with the physical magazine to be a swimsuit model. And now, while Sports Illustrated, the magazine, has kind of deteriorated just due to them getting sold off and stripped around, the swimsuit cover has still stayed as one of the pinnacle pieces of rugby, and not of rugby, of the Sports Illustrated, especially in sports, but just in general, being able to have that cover, because it is a different level of attention. It is equivalent to XXL's top rappers of the year, or ESPN and the body cover. Like, this is one of those situations where you say you are legitimately entering into the lexicon of pop culture. And I checked too, because I wanted to be sure. I was like, is this something just because of the Olympics, or is it because of her? And if you go take a look at the Instagram for Sports Illustrated, it clearly is because they like her and what she represents. Between her, obviously now 3.4 million followers on Instagram, probably another 1, 2, 3 million on TikTok, they clearly have acknowledged her as a major pop culture element. But you got to love what they've done. I want to bring up the video they did for her on this, because again, absolutely legit what they've got going on right now, and it's huge congratulations. Like, yo, this is what you've been wanting from rugby forever. Like, you need somebody to be able to bring people in that becomes a familiar face for them. And I think this is achieving this notably. So, all right, let me bring this down so you guys can properly enjoy.
Look at it go, the power, the strength of Ilona Maher.
That is so great! Oh my god, I love it. Speed and power.
There is more lasting ever. Everything she's got, throwing it on the field.
She's strong.
Yo, as I said, great setup for this entry point as a superstar. And I said it to people, and this feels like it acknowledges that much more. The fact that she is hitting this right before LA 2028 is a time where I think everybody in rugby needs to take advantage and jump on the wave. It's an absolute necessity. And to see that pop culture is continuing to drive it forward, because it's been a month. It's been a month. Like, the wave of excitement typically for post-Olympic stuff usually ends after about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, we got a fast news cycle, presidential elections, random BS that happens, music, yada, yada. There's always stuff to distract. But this, with them still being able to pay attention and making her almost an icon, not just for women's body positivity, but for women, kind of alternate perspectives for women, and just being able to utilize it, massive. Because this also leads into the other thing that I was really hoping would happen, and I'm very happy this is going through more and more each time, which was bringing Ilona Maher into the 2025 Rugby World Cup and the potential. And I said a few weeks ago, I said, look, I don't know about World Rugby or USA Rugby, but whenever you have somebody who's on a wave like this and they are able to bring a level of attention that's never been done before. And again, I say this with due respect to the greats, the legends, Charlotte Caslicks, the Portia Woodmans, the Jasmine Joyces, the Emily Scarretts, the Safa Ndiayas. Like they are major players in rugby, right? In rugby. But you don't have attention like this. And I know some people made an argument, especially because they said, oh, New Zealand has been on commercials for ages, probably since like 2017, and England has been on it. But again, you're talking about a population of 350 in 1 million people in one country accessing that versus needing to use the entire globe. It's different. And I said that World Rugby and USA Rugby needed to absolutely consider throwing an absolute bag at Ilona Maher to be able to get her to be part of this 2025 Rugby World Cup campaign, because it is a story that can help attach to other stories that would be beyond anything. And to hear that she is absolutely considering to do it, and apparently a couple other players, we got some more information on that. It's not her alone. It looks like we're going to be able to get a 2017 reset again, which makes me so happy. Oh my gosh, so happy. Because I've always, if you guys have watched me for a long time, I've said that 2017 Women's Rugby World Cup competition, especially the USA team, is probably my single favorite team of all time. The combination of the sevens players and the 15s players to come together. And last into 2021, they weren't able to do it for obvious reasons. You remember COVID, the Olympics kind of built into this, came at the same exact time because it got pushed back a year. And obviously the Rugby World Cup stayed in one place because they wanted to maintain their 4-year cycle rotation. But oh my goodness, when you say, hey, bring them together, I'm saying it. And again, no offense to the women's 15s team, but it just felt like they've been lacking. And it's something that you saw already. Like New Zealand mixes it up between the sevens players and the 15s players, and they play in the Rugby World Cup. England, the sevens players and the 15s players, whenever they go, they mix it up, and that's why they consistently stay dominant. But I had a great explanation in an interview that we did with Chris Thomas that should be coming out next week. Does a great job of explaining like a lot of the strife that was going on as to why it wasn't able to be done, obviously, again, for 2021, but what it's now taken and why more people haven't been doing it. But man, to hear that she's doing it, this is what World Rugby needs to be able to promote, and they need to send this out with a quickness and set the storylines around this, because if they don't, again, especially because it's in England, like you got the money, set the stage, baby, set the stage. So let me know what you guys think about this. Like, between Ilona Maher being on Sports Illustrated and now being willing to go and make the team for the Rugby World Cup 15s team, for 2025 women, and what do you think that's going to do even with the men, how that affects it? Like, I really truly believe you guys need to, I want to know what your thoughts are. I really want to know what your thoughts are on that, man, because that's a doozy of one, man. That's a doozy of one. And again, whether you guys like it or not, do you think this is good for rugby? Do you think this is maybe a step back? Do you think there's too much attention on Ilona and that it needs to step back into other people? Because I can even say for myself, I figured Ilona was going to be big. I did not expect her to be to this extent. And this is talking about 2020. So you just never know what's going to happen. I'm talking about 2019, not even 2020. Like, you never know what's going to happen. But what does it mean? What does it mean for you? So let's talk about it. All right, we got another set of ads. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going on with our guy, Rees-Zammit. It doesn't look very good for him in this situation, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag. We'll be right back.
They're the wheat flour that you can eat. My name is Gift Time at Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
Welcome back. All right, y'all. We got some news. But of course, before we start, it's Rees-Zammit. It's Reese Lightning Watch. Yo, we got Reese Lightning Watch, man. This last 2 weeks, it was the last preseason games. This past Tuesday was cutting time, and they was trying to find out where Rees-Zammit was going to go. Now, you know, if you guys got a chance to see it, if you didn't, that makes sense because nobody really watches preseason games. His second preseason game, he didn't really do it very much. Like, I don't think they made him do like one punt, and then that was it. In his last game, he did improve a lot more. It looked like he was trying to finally understand his positioning as a running back. He had 25 yards on 4 carries. He had a run for 10 yards, a run for 4, which got him a first down. Pretty legitimate. You see the improvement. You know, he's clearly kicking it in, you know, and it was like, okay, maybe the Chiefs are going to hold him down. You know, maybe the Chiefs are going to hold him down. And then the news absolutely broke. Unfortunately, Rees-Zammit was unable to continue as a Chief. Let's bring up a quick video to kind of show how he was playing, because again, I thought he did remarkably well. We'll go into that. Let me see. You tell me how you feel on him.
You got to do each step. One of those steps is training camp.
Nice running.
And battling through that, getting yourself ready for a long season. But it's going to be a challenge. It's hard to win in the NFL. But we're ready for it.
Drew, good luck this season. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Go Chiefs.
All right, thank you very much, Drew, and thank you to Matt. And, you know, when you look back at last year, we talked with Brett Beach earlier in the game. Getting Drew Tranquil on a 1-year deal last year was a really impactful.
Good, solid setup.
Oh, it was very big. You know, when you're trying to figure out, you know, who your guys in the middle are going to be, and he came in and was a force, and that's why they signed him.
Nice little cut in for another 4 yards. Solid play. Looks like it's starting to come together a little bit for him. And obviously, you know, as I said, you know, his time got canceled. The Chiefs decided not to continue on with him in that manner, which essentially relegated him to either being a practice squad person or being cut out the league. And honestly, I thought he was going to make the Chiefs practice squad at least. I really didn't think that there was going to be a situation where they weren't going to bring him in, because they signed him to the contract. Obviously, contracts before before regular season are not permanent. They can be adjusted. You don't have to, you know, pay any guarantees. But I thought they would at least try and bring him in for that. But it looks like it's not all bad for Rees-Zammit, because as of today, it looks like he was able to get picked up by the Jacksonville Jaguars, which and be on their practice squad, which is a phenomenal deal. Now, Jacksonville Jaguars are not exactly the greatest team in the world to be able to play for. And they don't really have a very strong history of winning, but he does have a few things that are on their side. He gets to go to a guy who also coached under Andy Reid in Doug Peterson, so the stylings and how he gets utilized can be a little bit more improved. He's still getting paid as a practice squad member, which means he can still get pulled up to be on the 53-man roster, or another team can request to kind of pick him up off that roster if they feel like they got something in him. So the fact that he got in, he's still inside the club is a big deal. And I love this concept where, like, with the NFL, like you don't know what anybody's gonna do. Like it is such a random shot. Like anybody can get it, whether you're a first rounder or really less so a first rounder, but if you're a second rounder to whether you're a seventh rounder to an undrafted pick, like anybody has a chance to still make it in the NFL unless your name's Colin Kaepernick. But with Rees-Zammit, like I would have figured maybe 10 years ago he would have, if he had tried, he would have attempted, they would have taken him out of the league. And I think we saw this with a guy like Christian Wade, who was, so dynamic, but wasn't able to continue outside of the, wasn't able to really continue much more in the league after a certain point. But I love this because Christian Wade, ironically, really put this and stated this out really well in terms of the importance that Reese Lightning has of still just being in the league, like what the true objective was supposed to be with him being in the league. And I think it was well said where it was like, we're not surprised if he's not going to be on the what do you call it, on the Chiefs team. Like there's a lot that goes into being on a team and based on need, regardless of whether you show out or not. Like you can have a great preseason and still get cut, but you're showing off for other teams as well. So I want to go to it real quick for what Christian Wade. Now, if you guys don't remember who Christian Wade is, Christian Wade was an England rugby player, maybe back about 10 years ago, who had highlights, super fast cutting player for rugby, absolutely dashing, very similar to Rees-Zammit. But he ended up going from rugby over to the Buffalo Bills and under the same international players program, and got a few plays in preseason and was ultimately cut by the Buffalo Bills. But in that, he made his return back to rugby at Gloucester, which is ironically the same place. It's Gloucester. I'm sorry, guys. At Gloucester. You guys corrected me about this before. At Gloucester. So it's essentially the same place that Rees-Zammit was playing at professionally. But in this situation, he's now Christian Wade is playing it. But they asked him about this because he's got a lot of insight on what it's like to go from the NFL to rugby. So this is what he had to say.
A lot of the times people try to compare it to like how sport is over here in England or in Europe. There is no real comparison. So he wouldn't have necessarily made the team based off bad performance or good performance. There's a load of things that come into it that have nothing to do with him as a person or a player. And so, the transition is hard for anybody, even the guys who've been playing from high school, college, the transition is just what it is. But I mean, it is difficult, but you can't really look at, whatever you see on the TV and games and selection and stuff doesn't really have anything to do with, how hard the transition is what I'm trying to say. The way that the sport over there works, just to be in an NFL and have to, be able to represent the badge is the goal. So for him to do that, that's success in itself. Anything else that he does is a bonus. You know what I mean? That it's just up to him to try and make himself, put himself in a position to be able to contribute for as long as possible. And by contribute, I mean, whether it's, being in the building, not playing, giving good reps in practice, getting game time, making good plays. That's all every guys try to do. Just try to get to the league. And then once they're there, just try and survive.
Yo, I think that you can't ask for a more concrete way of putting it. And again, Christian Wade has been there. He's literally been the guy who had the expectations, tried to get in, and it just ultimately didn't end up working out for him. But yeah, I see it with Rees-Zammit. Clearly, there's something there. He's got the speed, he's got the height, he's got the toughness, he's got the willingness. So teams want to see something out of that. And again, I think there's something to build from it. And honestly, the other thing that's advantageous with him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars is that they constantly play in England. They constantly are playing in England. So I think they're guaranteed a game every year in England, at least. So if he does get on the 53-man roster, they are building a fan base over there. Obviously, the Welsh would be coming up to enter into England to be able to, join in. But to have a hometown boy who's part of the team and possibly getting a chance to be on the field and show out and represent, I think is going to be massive for them. So if Jacksonville uses it right, which I assume that's part of the reason, as well as just his tangibles and intangibles, I think it works as a good marriage. It's a good marriage. So, shout out to Rees-Zammit for doing this process. Again, this was one, it was spotlit. There's people watching him. I feel like he's probably the most watched because he was one of the few times where a active star rugby player was actually leaving rugby mid-career at the top height of his career to go play and do this risky game. And for whatever it's worth, he's still probably going to be making way more money on the practice squad than he would have as playing for Gloucester at the same time, unfortunately. So I think that's commendable. That's bloody commendable. And shout out to him, man. I hope it continues to work out well in his favor. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you guys are standing with it. Do you guys feel like this is still good? I know some people have talked about they don't like it that rugby players are going over to football. And I'm with you on that one. I'd rather rugby players stay and football players come to rugby. But until the money gets right and the entertainment value gets connected correctly and you're really able to make yourself into a pop culture sensation, man, do what you got to do. You do what you got to do, and you'll be able to help it, and every little bit will help to be able to increase that longevity. So we'll see. All right. We'll be right back, man. We're going to talk a little bit HSBC 7s. They made a couple announcements that are interesting, to say the least. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is Gifte Bailu with Rugby Swag. Check it out.
All right, I don't want to hold you guys off. I know it's another ad. Watch out now. But I need to tell you guys about Rugby Outlet Mall. Look, this is the official e-commerce store for Rugby Swag Show and for Gift Time Rugby Network. And of course, we want to make sure that we are hooking you up with gear that is absolutely built for you to be able to wear on a day-to-day. Of course, we can do jerseys, and everybody has a jersey, but not everybody wears a jersey every day. But we have the rugby gear for you. Whether it is our FedEx best or our PayPal best, we have unique designs that are going to be fun and desirable for you to represent the way that you need to. And of course, if you guys go to rugbyoutletmall.com and use the code Grow Rugby, we're going to save you 10% off your first order. Hey, please support Rugby Swag Show. And of course, even some of our other stuff, the HBC Rugby Classic, and just general gear and merch for you guys, because hey, I want you guys to have the best, and I definitely appreciate you guys supporting. So definitely go rugbyoutletmall.com, use promo code GROW Rugby, GREAUX Rugby, and you will get 10% off your first order. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and let me let you get back. Cheers.
Yo, okay, welcome back. All right, HSBC 7s made their newest announcements going into the 2024-2025 season, and I feel like this is the first time they're really bringing energy. Like they're really trying to be able to be like, okay, we're gonna jump on this Olympic wave because we got stars now. All right, we got Moneta, we got Ilona, we got Michaela, we got Michaela Blight. Mind you, it's everybody that we've always seen that's there, but now we're featuring them. We're going to feature them, and within this feature comes where the games are gonna get played. And I felt like this was something worth talking about because of the fact that the locations, hopefully not fully completed yet, were a little bit head scratching in terms of where it's going to be played at. So HSBC sevens made their announcement for their first 5 games essentially. And it turns out one location is still missing on this, and very questioning on what the date of this is going to be. So they made it where they have, all right, it is Dubai is going to, it looks like it's near the kickoff. Again, there's still September date. I think that's supposed to be opening up September, October date. So, but this obviously isn't the finalized, but they said this is the first 5 events. So maybe so. So you have Dubai that's happening in the end of November, beginning of December to kick it off. You're going out to Cape Town directly afterwards in December 7th and 8th of next week. You go down to Perth, January 24th and 26th. And then you have Vancouver, February 21st and 20 to the 23rd. And then you go to Hong Kong in March 28th and 30th. And this is really interesting because where's LA Sevens? You know, where's Singapore? Now, typically, if you guys know, like Hong Kong Sevens usually is about closer to the end. Singapore usually closes out. And then obviously they had, like last year, they have a combination area to do it. Now, I don't know if they're fully completed on announcing the destinations, but one major one that really shot off for me is the fact that there's no LA after or before Vancouver. And if you guys know, they usually layer these things out so that the travel time isn't too harmful. So whenever you're on one part of the world, you can just quickly jump down to the next part. That's why you have like Dubai and Cape Town. That's the same. Typically, they would have like Perth and Auckland going on around the same time. And then Vancouver and LA or Las Vegas would be there. And then Hong Kong and Singapore are relatively close to each other. So the fact that they haven't announced that these are part of it is a little unsettling to me. I don't, and if they are planning to announce it, I don't quite understand what is the intent that they are having behind the way that they're going to be announcing this. It doesn't seem like it makes any logical sense to do this. Like drop it out so people can set up the entertainment. The entertainment value that you want to bring is with the players and the stories, not the locations. Like, don't play games with the locations, but also you don't take away the rugby from the USA. So there are talks that they're supposed to be possibly moving the Sevens tournament from LA to possibly North Carolina. There's been rumors about them going to Vegas. There's been talks about it maybe going down to Austin. Again, I think maybe Premier Rugby Sevens might be part of the lead in trying to search for a proper location. But and if you don't know why they might be leaving LA is because as I've heard from sources and friends and kind of piecing the conversation together, LA has not been a desirable location for the HSBC 7 series. The parking situation is horrendous. They don't feel like there's enough good fields, especially for the practice fields. And I don't think that they feel like there's enough. The stadium, I think the stadium is fine, but I think everything has been about the fields around it, the practice facilities, and being able to properly execute a full training plus rugby. So, you know, moving, that was the same issue that Las Vegas had. Las Vegas's situation was the stadiums were deteriorating, the practice fields were deteriorating, but you know, you have things like the Invitational, the LA Invitational, Las Vegas Invitational that also plays on those subsequent fields as well. So, you know, these are all clusters. And then I think also USA Rugby wants to continue to bring the rugby competition closer to their home base. If you guys don't know, USA Rugby's headquarters moved from Glendale, Colorado, over to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I think USA Sevens wants to bring it out there. There are facilities that can work for it. I remember the old rugby center that was out there. Charlotte obviously has a growing population. I don't know if it hits the same as saying I'm going to Los Angeles as it is to be like I'm going to Charlotte. So I think there's a marketing issue that goes with it. But whatever the decision is, I hope they make it, because you can't skip the US out of this. Not for the men or for the women. You can't do that, because it's too much. There's too much laying on there. There's money, especially now as you're leading into LA 2028. Over the course of the next 4 years, you don't want to be missing times on talking to these sponsors, and it's wild. So I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what the conversations are looking like right now. So let me know what you guys think. What do you guys feel is going to be the situation, or how do you feel like this is going to be able to play into the success and what we build off of the Sevens tournament and what that goes? I want to hear it. Next, y'all, I'm not going to jump to a commercial. I want to talk about a situation that kind of ties into this. That was about growth and increase of the playing population. So if you guys don't know, my guy, Mick Feely, a friend of the show, has been a guest on the show, done the interviews with him multiple times over. And he's been a massive advocate of the importance of developing grassroots rugby, not simply just for the sake of sociability, but that the business model for rugby is contained through the ownership in the grassroots. So what you make goes back into the community because it's used by the community, that cycles the money out, that allows self-investment to essentially happen, and then is being able to use as a data piece for bringing in others, investors, sponsors, etc., like that. But if you do not have that initial subset, it doesn't count. And he's also always argued that the numbers have been a little bit finagly, a little bit shenanigans when it comes to the amount of attention and participation and involvement that goes into rugby. And so he was on LinkedIn. He made a really great comment that I felt like was good to be able to talk about on this one. And I'm going to read it off. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and pull this up real quick and read it off to you guys on it, because I thought this was a phenomenal look. So essentially what he said was, let's see if we can bring this. Essentially, okay, so this is what he wrote. Recently, USA Rugby Youth in High School announced passing 50,000 members. For some perspective, USA Youth Soccer had 4.42 million participants in 2018. At a land area of 3.797 million square miles contained within the United States borders, that equates to just over one youth rugby player per 76 square miles. Just under 2 youth soccer players per square mile, and 3, roughly 140-to-1 ratio. He said, continues to go, I saw a YouTube video last week where the host talked about the USA having as many, if not more, rugby clubs, approximately 2,700 versus approximately 2,500 than England. The problem is that we are not comparing apples to apples. Most of the clubs in England have multiple teams, including youth and women's sections built in, even with recent decreases in adult male club participants. In the USA, these clubs are all separate, give or take a handful, that collaborate under a single umbrella, but are individually registered to various unions and leagues as required. Basically saying that there's an inflation on the US side versus what would be in the UK. I said this years ago, but it bears repeating. Simply put, we have too few players playing too little rugby too far apart. The solution is we need more people playing more and better rugby closer together. Just an interesting way of looking at it. And I thought, this is phenomenal. And not only just because that's my guy, and we've talked about this, behind the scenes. We've talked about this with a lot of people in respective manners. but it does put a perspective into what it takes to be able to really see the successes that we want. Obviously, with the bronze medal, we felt like there is a ceiling that's being broken. But in conversations that you still have with coaches, if you guys look at interview that friend of the show, Lance Kavanaugh of Great American Rugby, did with Mike Friday, pay to play is still a massive issue. And if that continues to inhibit the ability to be able to bring more participants at the youth level, well, that also affects how we're able to grow. There are professional leagues. It affects how investment goes over a 20, 30, 40-year period. It affects how we are able to compete at the next level and being able to recycle and replace players and really create sustainable clubs, communities, and drives that where we can have these various formats that are held together on their own. So I thought this was a great look into it. Mick has been very adamant about this, and with his program Citizens Rugby Foundation and all the efforts that he's been doing, he's always been focused on trying to be a internal community-based business model. And when you look at the numbers like that, well, it hits, because even at that, if it's 50,000 on the youth, a lot of people say there's like 100,000 or so that are actively registered rugby players in the USA. But is that actually true? And then what the actual number of full rugby participants, in both as casual fans as well as players as well. So these all play into the model and what we're able to do to be able to elevate it so that we can be successful at a Rugby World Cup, or we can be successful, which is what you're trying to do for 2031, or we can be successful at a home Olympics in 2028 and be able to really show that we have the gravitas as a 350 plus million person country with the highest GDP in the world by almost leaps and bounds to the next one. So, I just want to know, I thought it was interesting. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. How do you feel it is with the participation and what that absolutely means for the development and the growth of rugby in that? Okay, y'all, we got one more commercial break, and we're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little bit about rugby love, y'all. Ain't it sweet? Ain't it sweet? This is Gifty Belu with Rugby Swag. We'll be right back.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifty Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you are trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter breads without sacrificing your diet. but it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.
All right, welcome back, y'all. Look, man, I gotta say there was this last story that it's just really heartwarming, in my opinion, that I kind of came up 2 times and just made me reminded. And rugby love, man. Rugby love is something that's real. Hold on, I think I found some music that works best to put this in the background. There we go. Yeah, rugby love, and it seems to be in the air. It was announced this week that Maro Itoje officially got engaged to model Mimi Falls to be able to finally get him in. And it's a big deal. Man's been a bachelor for almost 30 years, going through, beautiful wife, absolutely showing out, beautiful girlfriend to absolutely show out what it's all about. And you got to love it for the UK. And after that as well, which was Alev Kelter absolutely getting engaged to her girlfriend, now fiance, Catherine Trader, who's also a USA rugby player. You gotta love rugby love, man. We've seen it with Portia Woodman with Cliffy and Renee with Cliffy, Jasmine Joyce and her wife, and it just continues to go on. You gotta love it. Give it the shout out where it's absolutely well due and necessary, and obviously, just bring it through. Something very simple. Hey, very, very simple. Not, and so just wanted to give it the shout that it really deserved, But all right, y'all. That's where we have for the day. And I just want to let you guys know, look, we got an amazing interview with Chris Thomas coming out next week. I hope you guys have been able to enjoy. I hope you guys were able to take a lot. I know we didn't get a chance to talk MLR draft that happened the other day, but we'll talk about that next week. But I really want you guys to absolutely go ahead and check out some of our other podcasts, some of our other interviews as we get ready. And I hope you guys really are able to continue to get ready for a great set of rugby that's going into this Northern Hemisphere fall, Southern Hemisphere spring. But in the meantime, I hope that you guys know that I hope that you're happy. I hope that you're healthy. And I hope that you know that you are highly favored. Until next time, y'all. Cheers.